Hi everybody, Adam here. Today we're taking a look at an awesome new microscale Lego book. The book is called Lego Mini Modulars Around the World and is written by Nicholas and Thomas Carlier. Really impressed with what they've done here. Some really impressive little mini modular buildings that they have created with a lot of detail packed into them. And I really like the idea that they've gone with here by creating little micro scale buildings for you to build from around the world. You'll see when we flip over to the back here that they've got a nice picture display of the 14 buildings that you can build with the instructions found inside the book. We've got the Painted Ladies in San Francisco. We've got the Venetian house in Venice, Italy. Nice Swiss chalet from Switzerland. I think it's a really neat concept, both from the perspective of representation, in that you get to regardless of where you're located around the world, there's probably a building here that you recognize as being more local to you, or that you're more familiar with in general. But I think it's also a really cool concept from the perspective of the wide variety of building techniques that it encourages and that they show throughout the book. It really gives you some different perspectives on how to build in the micro scale format, not only with buildings like these, but just in general, as you start to think about the different ways Lego bricks can be manipulated to represent some of the different features in buildings like these. So, really impressive concept here. Now let's take a look inside the book. So first off here, we've got a couple of pages that I think really sort of drive home the great visual quality and style that the authors exhibit throughout the book here. We've got another sort of breakdown of all of the different buildings that are featured within the book and where they're located. And I really like the usage of the wireframe models for for each of the buildings here. I think it's just a cool way to look at them, and just a neat tool to use. And with that, we've also then got a world map, and you can see each of the buildings is called out on here, so you can see again how these buildings are reflective of countries all over the world. A lot of them come from Europe, but still, you've got North America represented there, South America, and Asia. So a nice broad coverage around the world with the buildings that they've featured here. Now, the first few pages of the book talk about the structure and layout of the book, as well as the authors. And you can see here they've got their Instagram handles, definitely worth checking out. And it's worth noting that in the book layout, you can kind of see it in the little mini picture here, there are two ways to get the parts lists for each of the models that you build in the book. There is the printed version inside the book here, where you can see all the parts and how many you need of each. And then there is also a QR code that lets you, or directs you, I guess, to a Google Drive that has the part XML lists that you can use for buying parts on Bricklink. So two great methods here, whether you're going and you're digging through your own part collection, or whether you want to order parts on Bricklink for building these modulars. There's a couple different ways you can do that, which I think is really nice. And, it's also worth noting that, there's a lot of great photography throughout the book, showcasing each of the builds that you are able to build in here, which is really nice. Now, a couple of concepts that they call out in the book here in different ways that I think are worth showcasing. One, I really like how they push the ability to customize and use the instructions they're providing here as a jumping off point for your own creations. And in most cases throughout the book, each of the buildings features, little tweaks that you could make in terms of colors or part selection to really come up with some distinct looking buildings that could be displayed very naturally beside each other in a lineup view like that, or that could even be adapted into a city view like this. And I think that's really powerful. It means that you're getting a book here that's not only giving you instructions for 14 great looking buildings, but you're getting a book that also is kind of empowering your creativity and kickstarting your ability to build these 14 buildings and then a whole bunch more initially based off of that, and then even some of your own creations that you can then display in one of these two formats, or maybe in another format that appeals to you. But I personally have found the book pretty inspiring, and I think it would be cool to to be able to build a city like this, or even just to have a cool lineup of micro scale city buildings on display in the Lego room. So I'm definitely thinking about things that we can do with this book and the builds in it. And I think it's a really nice touch that they have set it up this way. Now, another example of the visual style of the book here, really like the continued repetition of using different wireframe versions of the buildings inside the book as artwork throughout the book. And you can see another example of it here. I think it's cool that they've included these images in addition to the great photographs of the actual buildings that you are creating, and really just speaks to the the general visual quality and interest level of how the book is laid out. Another point worth noting here is that at the back of the book, there's a section on how to go about starting to create your own mini modular building, which I think is a nice touch. And they include some instructions for building other sort of set dressing pieces that would be useful in a micro scale city, like trees and cars, as well as a few others, that you can use in and amongst your buildings or your city, depending on what you're creating. So a nice little section to have at the back here, and I'm glad they inserted that. And it speaks to what I was mentioning earlier, where this book is not just about the 14 buildings that you're building. It's really a jumping off point for some of your own creations and what you can do with these buildings once you're done them. Now, it is also worth noting that the step-by-step instructions for each of these buildings are really clear and easy to follow, which is nice. And, just overall quite happy with the overall structure and content of this book. Definitely recommend checking it out. I will include a link below to the Amazon page for the book. And definitely recommend checking it out, especially if you're a micro scale builder or a fan in general of micro scale builds. There's a lot of cool things to be learned from the book. So overall, highly recommend the book, and interested to see what Nicholas and Thomas do from here. Hopefully they will create some more interesting books in this vein. Now, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And thank you very much for watching. We will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.